What's up, guys? Hope you're having an amazing day. Welcome back to the channel. We started the video with some black tea, so let's get the video started. Today's video is sponsored by KBANAzine. We'll talk more about it at the end of the video. I rented the Nikon Zf for a few days to try, and so we're going to be talking about my experience with it and what I think about the Nikon Zf. Now, I don't have the camera in my hands right now because I'm shooting this video on the new Nikon Zf with the Nikon 28 2.8 lens. I just wanted to also record some videos with it and see how it looks and how I feel about the video aspect. I've shot with it for a few days. I wasn't able to shoot with it as much as I wanted to. I rented the camera on Wednesday, and before Wednesday I was starting to feel a little sick, but then right after I went and got the camera, it just kind of went downhill from there, and I wasn't feeling really great. So even though I wasn't able to really shoot the camera like I thought or planned I wanted to, I was still able to take some walks and bring the camera with me. So the first day was a Thursday, right before sunset. I took a walk, brought the camera. I actually forced myself to go out and shoot with the camera. One, just to get out of the house because I wanted to feel better soon. So just sitting in the house, sitting on the couch, I wasn't feeling great about it. So I forced myself to go so I can also try the camera out as well. So Thursday before sunset, and then I think Saturday night, I wasn't feeling really great as well. So myself and my partner went for a walk at night. Also wanted to try the camera at night and see how that performs and how that looks. So it's a combination of me wanting to test the camera or shoot the camera because that's why I rented it, and then also to get myself out of the house and not just be sitting inside, so I can feel better. And as you can see and hear me right now, I feel way better than a few days ago or even yesterday. So yeah, that's great. I wish I had more time with the camera, but unfortunately, right after I finished recording this video, I have to take it back to a local camera store, Midwest. I wanted to rent it with the 40mm lens, but they didn't have it, unfortunately. And so the lens options that they had for me, I didn't want them. So I ended up getting it with this adapter so I can adapt my Nikon F3 lens with F-mount lens on the Nikon Zf. And then also one of my friends who actually works there at Midwest, Micah, he owns the Nikon Zf and he had two lenses. He had the 40 and then he had a 28, and he let me borrow the 28, and I'm glad he did because even though I ended up shooting with the adapted F-mount lens more, I also shot some photos with the 28, which I really do like. Now, I have been a Canon guy for a very long time, and I haven't had the desire to shoot a Nikon camera at all. And it's quite surprising to even be making this video and talking about a Nikon camera. But ever since I've owned this camera, Nikon has gotten my attention. And when they released the Nikon Zf, aesthetically, the camera just looks so good. I know these days everybody wants to shoot with a camera that, you know, have film simulation or kind of looks like film or give them results close to film or even like feels like film. And so, you know, I am no exception. And because I own the Nikon F3, it looks good. And the Nikon Zf kind of looks similar to that. And so I really was interested in this camera, and I wanted one. However, I wanted to see how it performs first before I jump into purchasing one, and that is why I rented it, so I could try it and test it out and see if it's a good fit for myself. I don't currently own any digital camera. My partner do have a Canon RP that I will use for when I'm making videos, or sometimes when we are shooting a commercial work or something like that, we will use the camera, but she mostly uses it for her work. So I personally don't own any digital camera, and it's getting to the point where I want to have at least a digital camera in my collection, in my kit, not only for my personal work, but also when I do other jobs and other works. I wanted a camera that will be good for both pictures and videos. When I read the specs on the Nikon Zf, I also thought it might be the best camera, especially for a 24.5 megapixel full frame camera. And for a while, I wanted a camera that can shoot 4K, that can do 120 frames. After shooting with it, it's just the same feeling that I had even before I had the camera in my hand, or even before I saw it in person. And of course, after shooting it, it's a really, really great camera that I really want. So these are the three things that I was basing my experience with the camera on to decide whether I really want to get it or not. So the first one is the aesthetic of it, the look of the camera, how it looks, how it feels in the hands. The second one is the performance. How does this camera really performs? Does it really functions well? Does it fit well in my, the way I shoot and the way that I want cameras to perform? And then three is the results, the image quality, how the image looks. And so I'm going to be talking about these three things and share some photos with you as well. So the first thing, the aesthetic, the look of the camera. For a long time, I've just not been interested in digital cameras. This Canon RP that we have that sometimes I will use for my videos, it doesn't, I don't know, look at this. I'm not a huge fan of it. But when I saw the Nikon Zf, just immediately I was like, I want this camera. I really, really like the way it looks. Even before I had it in my hand, I just knew I would like it. Because I own the F3 and I know how it feels in my hand, and it's very similar. I think it's more similar to the FM3 than the F3, but they have similar aesthetic and similar look. Now this F3 is slightly thinner than the ZF, but it still have the same handle. And I know a lot of people don't really like it, but I really, really like it. I don't have that much of a big hands. I don't also have a really small hand. So I'm kind of in between, the hands size. And anytime I hold this, I don't struggle with it. Every finger falls in place where it's supposed to, I think. And I don't struggle with how long I'm holding the camera, because most of the time too, I like short straps. So I'll leave the camera hanging until I have to take a photo, and that is where I hold the camera. So people talking about not having, the right grip, it's not really a problem for me. You can tell having the grip like this sometimes helps, especially when you're holding the camera for a very long time. However, like I said, when I have the camera with me, especially the Nikon F3, it's always around my neck right here, and I'll only hold it when I want to take a photo. One of the reasons why I also don't care about how the handle is made is because it makes the camera simple. Like I said, the look of the camera is very important, and if you always have to sacrifice for something. And so if you want to have a really good grip on the camera, you're going to have, this handle here, which is going to play a huge role in how the camera looks. And I've seen people buy, the handle that they screw on the bottom to be able to hold the camera well. But again, I don't really bother at all. So that is that. One thing that I also really like is the placement of the knobs and the dials on the camera. I know Fuji have done a really great job on that, and how the dials, having your ISO and shutter speed right there with you, and then the aperture on the lens. It's just, like a film camera, just straight away. You don't have to go into the settings for anything. And Nikon did that well on this camera, even though they don't have the aperture on their lenses, but you can change the aperture with the front dial here on the camera. And like I said, I'm recording with the camera, so I won't be able to have it in my hand to show you, but on the front dial, you can use that to set your aperture, and there is a cutout hole on the top plate that you can see your aperture. Or if you adapt, the old lenses to it, you have the aperture on the lens, and then you can set it manually, and you don't have to worry about using dials for it, which I've come to realize that I really did enjoy putting the old lens on this new camera. And in the future, if I end up buying one, I think that's what I'm going to do, is just adapt the lenses, because the manual focus on it is really, really great. Some digital cameras, if you mount manual lenses on it, if it doesn't have a great, focus peaking, you really struggle with it. I've owned a few Fuji cameras, so I've owned the S Pro 2, I've owned the S Pro 1, and now I currently own the XE1. And with those cameras, sometimes, even though it works, focus peaking is not that great. But with the Nikon Zf, there's like one or two photos that I ended up not getting focus. But other than that, most of it, I'm getting the focus right, and it's great. One thing that I also really like, and especially for video, is the flip up screen. I have always been a fan of that. I don't like that flip up that you're not able to like open the screen all the way. I really like the fact that this one, the Nikon Zf, can fully open out and flip around for when you're doing a video like this, so I can see myself and use it for video. And then also, if you're taking photos, I barely use the screen like that when I'm taking photos, but in case you are in a situation where you need it, it's there for you to use as well. The performance, I really like that it's a full frame 24.5 megapixel camera. These Fuji cameras, and I'm comparing it with Fuji's mostly because, I feel like that's the only cameras in the market that kind of have similar aesthetic and looks, and the film look or the film aesthetic. But all of the Fuji cameras are crop sensors. And for someone who have shot both Fuji and now shooting the Nikon Zf, I can really tell the difference between the image quality. If you're not somebody who prints a lot, you might not see the difference. But if you really do print your work a lot, you will really understand and really like, the full frame and then the high megapixel. So it's really great that this camera is full frame, that is 24.5 megapixels. If you compare it to a Fujifilm, like I said, you can really see the image quality there. The colors, I really, really like the colors, really great. The image file is really great to work with. There were some photos that kind of came out a little bit underexposed, and I brought the shadows really way up, and you can barely even tell that I raised the shadows in the image, because the dynamic range on this camera is also really, really great. There are some situations where I was having a very high, highlight and deep shadows, and of course it's digital, so I'm kind of exposing for the highlights and then raising the shadows in post. And like I said, not having much trouble with that. Even with this video that I'm recording now, when you look outside, you can see outside. I have a light here, but even if I turn the light off, you can still see me as well as outside, which tells you how good the dynamic range on this camera is. The last thing that I want to talk about is the results, and you've seen it, like I talked through it even in the performance, but the results are great. The image quality is really great. I really like how it has a look, which is something that I wasn't expecting myself to say. So I have a friend who shoots Fuji cameras, and he's a really big Fuji fan. And when I told him I had rented the ZF and shot it, he asked to see some of the photos. And when I sent it to him, he came back and said, "Man, this looks like film." And I mean, it's kind of a cliche when we say that anymore, but I have tried so many times to get that look. If you know what I'm talking about, that look, that feel of the image compared to like film. And I always struggle with it. I mean, I like the way my photos, I like the way I edit my photos to look like, but I feel like with this camera, it was very easy and it was very straightforward. Like I said, the colors were there, and it looks really great, and I'm very, very happy with the results that I got. Like I said, I couldn't have that much time to shoot this camera because I was sick, but I tried my best to shoot it in different settings and different scenarios. So I took it out before sunset, and I took it out at night, and I also wanted to test the black and white JPEG because on this camera, Nikon put a switch or a dial to switch it, to black and white if you want, even though that's going to give you just, JPEGs. You can shoot raw and turn it to black and white if you want. But if you just want straight out of the camera, black and white, there is a dial on the camera that you just switch it to, and you can shoot black and white. When I was shooting the first day, I really didn't think about it that much to use it because I just wanted to see how the colors will work, and I was more color focused. And so I didn't use it at all. I actually didn't even think about it at all. But the last time I shot this camera, we went to the grocery store and I brought it with me. And this time I switched it to black and white, knowing that I just wanted to test it out and show it. So the images are not that great. It's nothing, exciting, but I just wanted to see how it performed. I kind of slightly underexposed the image a little bit. So I'll show you guys straight out of camera how the black and white looks. And then I'll show you after I had edited them how they look. So these are just JPEGs and not raw files, but so far I think they look really great. I don't have much to say about it other than I don't think I will shoot straight out of camera black and white without touching the image or without editing it at all. So that wouldn't be a problem, but it's really nice to have that option to be able to switch from color to black and white without having to go through the settings or without having to like go choose any simulations or anything like that. With Fuji cameras, I know there's a lot of platforms that you can go and set up your film simulations and all that, and you can do the same with the Nikon Zf. The same, I think it's called Fuji Weekly something, that they put out the film simulations. I think they have something similar like that, film simulations for the Nikon Zf. And there is also other websites that you can go and actually download the settings on your card, put it in and install it. They have the option for that, so you can custom install your own film simulations in the camera. So that is really awesome. Like I said, I can't believe I'm saying all this about, sorry for my voice, but I can't believe I'm saying all this about a Nikon camera because I have just not been a fan of Nikon cameras, but this camera has really, really changed that. And then also the Nikon F3 really changed my perspective on Nikon cameras. Now, let's talk about certain things that I really don't like about the camera, which is not much. I don't really have much things that I don't like about the camera. Now, I think it's also because I'm not very familiar with Nikon cameras, but the settings is a lot. If you end up going through the settings to set it up, it's a lot. There's just way too much information in there, and I don't think I'm built for that. It's just too much. There's a lot of things that you have to go through, and it was a struggle. But Micah, who let me borrow his lens, he is the Nikon guy at the store. So I went to him and he helped me set it up, even though I'm going to end up returning the camera, but I set it up like how I would use my camera. Other than that, I don't know. There isn't much about the camera that I don't like. I have a lot of things that I like about it than things that I do not like about it. Nowadays, when I shoot digital cameras, I just treat it like film. And so I will set my ISO to, like, if I'm shooting in the day, I'll set it to 200 and I leave it as that. Or I'll set it to 400 and I'll leave it at that. And when I'm shooting at night, I set it to either 1600 or 3200, depending on, you know, the location that I'm going. If there is too much light, I set it to 1600, and if there isn't much light, I'll set it to 3200. There's just been a few situations where I had to go back and set it to 6400. The photos that I've taken at 6400 still looks really clean. So that really tells you, you know, the image quality and how great this sensor is. In conclusion, I really like this camera. I'm definitely gonna pick one up. Maybe not anytime soon. I'm definitely going to get this camera. And when I do get it, I think I want it either with the 40, or I'm going to get it with a 28 and adapt my 50mm lens with it. I wish the adapter was a little thinner than this. So if any of you know any other Nikon Z2 F adapter that is smaller than this, please let me know in the comments below. But other than that, it performed really great. There wasn't much struggle with it, and it did what it was supposed to do. For video, like you're seeing in this, it looks really great. And then for pictures as well, also really great. So that's it for the video, and I'm so sad that I have to return this camera, especially today when I'm feeling better, when I'm feeling good, and I kind of want to take it out and really like shoot it and pay attention to it, but unfortunately I do not. So maybe I will rent it again and take it out and take some photos, and I'll share with you as well. I'll see if Micah will let me borrow his and try it out again and share with you guys. But I hope you enjoyed it. If you are planning on picking one up, I hope you got a little bit of information to help you make the decision for yourself if you wanted one of the camera, if you wanted the Nikon Zf or not. Follow me on my Instagram, Edmund K. Boateng. Subscribe to the channel if you really enjoyed this video. KBANAzine, my partner and I, we put together this magazine under our gallery, Fine Art Photography Gallery. So we have 12 artists, 4 genres of photography. So we have conceptual, fashion, street, and documentary. You're getting 4 magazine in one. The link is going to be in the description below. Click on it, check it out, and we really appreciate it if you pick one up to support what we are doing and also to support the channel. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.